morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Friday news dump. We're here to end the week and start the weekend. Happy Friday. We're going to cover all the news you need to know for the weekend so you don't have to worry about it. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 15 minutes before we start.
We're new and improved. We up our game. Go up your.
Let's get into our headlines for today's show. Today on Friday's news dump, Marine Le Pen's compulsory resignation from her position as departmental counselor for Pas de Calais, confirmed by the Lille administrative court, found the guy who's responsible for the crypto kidnappings.
It's Roger from the United States. We're going to talk about Vietnam has scrapped its two-child policy as it has a Japan problem. Its aging threatens its economic growth.
Kosovo to host up to 300 Danish prisoners. Model draws European interest but raises local concerns. And farmers harvest in limbo after UK endures the driest spring in nearly 70 years. Almost as old as World War II, huh?
And in fishy news, they opened a can of salmon that had been expired for 50 years. And we're going to talk about a woman, a South African woman, who sold her child into slavery.
In our culture news, check out all the funniest photos in the 2025 Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards.
That's right, and it's D-Day today, the day that we freed Europe from the clutches of fascism, just so they could say, fascism wasn't that bad. June 6th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Of course, to be fair, everyone helped each other free themselves from fascism. It was not just the U.S., Canada was there. France had a
Nobody
army.
said it was the U.S. Nobody said it was the U.S. I said we, the Allies. We, the Allies.
And now everyone loves fascism. That's true. That's definitely a problem now.
Don't jump on the United States to call it credit.
Hey, I didn't say what you were saying. I'm just saying out loud. I'm just saying some thoughts I had right during the intro. Let's roll our wheel for our first segue. Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Okay, let's talk about how many. We've been there, man.
Yeah, we've been there.
We know the story.
They're having a ceremony and everything every year in Normandy. Our first segue
right this minute
is
drunk Secretary of Defense right this minute.
Haiku. No, sorry, no, a limerick. Ooh. I thought it was haiku, but it's actually a limerick. This is why.
What?
Yeah, limerick we have two stories. You can, and they're both quite long-ish. We've got first story is Marine Le Pen officially resignating from any of her position in the government. So she's been completely kicked out. And then we've got the crypto kidnappings and who did it. I guess we found out who did it. One of the masterminds. So first story. This is on Le Monde. From The World, that's what it says. The World published this. Leader of the RN deputies had filed an appeal against the loss of Le Pen's mandate as department counselor of Pas de Calais, pronounced after her conviction for embezzlement of public funds. Now she's no longer an administrator. The Lille administrative court confirmed on Wednesday, which was 1st, of June, compulsory resignation of Marine Le Pen from her mandate as department counselor of Pas de Calais. The leader of the National Rally deputies had filed an appeal at the end of May against the loss of Calais as a department counselor of Pas de Calais, announced after her conviction for embezzlement of public funds. At Lille Administrative Court, the public prosecutor had recommended the rejection of her request, considering that the prefecture was legally obliged to strip the elected official of her local mandate. On the merits of the dispute, the court ruled that the legislative provisions of the Electoral Code to departmental councillors required the prefect to declare the departmental representative declared ineligible by the criminal judge to have resigned automatically by a judgment accompanied by provisional execution. That doesn't mean they're going to execute here. That just means the provision has been executed. The administrative court therefore rejected the request, explains the press release, which specifies that the judgment can be appealed within 1 month. But for now, you have been stripped of all of your duties. Marine Le Pen's lawyer immediately announced that she was appealing the decision, an appeal that suspends the automatic resignation. In a statement released to the press, Thomas Laval deplored a decision that deprives her of representing the voters of the canton of Hénin-Beaumont, even though she is still presumed innocent of the fact of which she is accused. I mean, they found her guilty, but okay. If you just keep on appealing it under, you do. I don't know if people know this because law is not something everyone experiences, right? But when you appeal, you have to give a reason for appeal. You don't just say, you know what, agree with your decision, go again. You have to go, I appeal because of, I find these grounds were not substantial or you didn't prove blah, blah, blah. And that's what you have to say. So I'm really interested if her only appeal is, well, I'm innocent. That's why I'm appealing, because I'm innocent, okay? And that's all she's saying. Also, good morning, Amlin. Happy Friday. The court also dismissed the priority question of constitutionality raised by Mr. Laval. He considered that the compulsory resignation provided for the event of ineligibility, which is not definitive but is provisionally enforceable, could undermine the freedom of voters and other constitutional principles. Wait a minute, these guys voted for a criminal. So even though she's a criminal, she is still allowed to represent them. And I think in this argument here from the judge anyways, maybe these people didn't vote for her thinking that she's embezzled a bunch of money from EU funds and they deserve not a criminal representing them in their constituency. I think that's the safer option here than, yeah, they all like that she's a criminal and she's gonna embezzle funds, He emphasized that these legislative provisions have already been deemed constitutional by a decision of Constitutional Council of March 28, 2025, concerning municipal councillors who are subject to the same rules as departmental councillors. Give up. This lawyer is trying to pull all of the things, It's just, come on, dude. You lost. I know she's paying you a lot of money, but she's lost. Marine Le Pen, sentenced at the end of March to 5 years of immediate ineligibility, retains her mandate as a member of Parliament for Pas de Calais according to law, but has been dismissed from her position as a departmental councillor. She's still a member, but she's not the departmental councillor. A resignation suspended by her appeal. She has appealed her sentence of 4 years in prison, 2 of which are suspended, and 5 years of immediate ineligibility. I don't want to go to prison for 4 years. Well, maybe you shouldn't have embezzled that money. The mechanism of compulsory resignation from a non-final ineligibility sentence violates several fundamental principles in a state governed by rule of law, such as the principle of contradiction, as well as several of France's international, according to Paul. In April, the Pas de Calais prefecture announced that Miss Le Pen compulsory resignation from her departmental mandate following her conviction in the National Front FN, now RN 15 jobs affair. The Paris Criminal Court concluded that she was at the heart of a system designed to constitute a real financial windfall for the party. They funneled a bunch of EU money into our local French party. That's what's bad here. That's what they're saying. You paid people from your party with EU funds, which are meant for EU things, not French things. The court estimated that 2.9 million euros had been embezzled by the FN over more than 11 years, from November 1st, 2004 to January 17th, 2016, through the establishment of a vicious employment system, which consisted of having parliamentary assistants of European deputies work for the party. Yeah. That's my European parliamentary assistant, who happens to be also the head of the FN's money mandate, or whatever, Yeah, he has 5 jobs, and all of them require me to pay him with my EU funds, not my French funds. Okay. Anyways, this is what she's been found guilty of. She should just give it up. Her career's over. I think a lot of people have already agreed that this is Marine Le Pen governmental career. Maybe she could come back in 5 years, but who knows what France's governmental avenue will look like in 5 years. Hopefully, that's far right. That's what I'm hoping for, and then she won't have anybody to vote for her. You can only hope. Say no to fascism, guys, especially on D-Day, right? Did you finish your limerick?
I do. I do, but I'm
Nice.
actually posting. Oh, give me a second here. Paste. All right, my limerick says. Am I still connected?
I see ya. You're here.
Right. If you are in charge of public cash, don't put money in your private stash. Like Marine Le Pen, who proved once again that your career will surely crash.
Indeed. Crashed hard. She's still fighting. No, you gotta give her props for that, I guess. But, sometimes you gotta turn in the towel or whatever they say.
Oh, she learned from Trump. Even if you're guilty, you don't go to jail, right?
Well, actually, she still might go to jail, but she is trying to appeal that, right? She could go to jail for four years. She's appealing 2 of those years, so I think 2 years she still has to go to jail, but...
I'll be shocked if
to be fair, France's law system, in my very limited experience and opinions of it, is very harsh. And I'm not basing this off Les Miserables. I'm basing off of modern, stories of people who've just been, there's this one girl who was, sent to prison for 2 months because they thought she was guilty of a crime, but they hadn't found her guilty. It was, a whole thing. It's a whole movie you can watch. The whole movie you can watch, I think, with Matt Damon as he plays the father in the scenario who goes to find his daughter who's been in prison for 2 years in France. And they didn't, and she's American, right? They didn't extradite her or anything. They just you know what? You decided you're guilty. We're putting you in prison, and you're not going to get any rights.
All she had was an look at the library. Your story. Next story.
Next story is an update on these crypto kidnappings. They think they found the mastermind behind the lucrative, wrench attacks or whatever. I think we were talking about earlier in the week. I think we were talking about this from Alex Kozel-Wright on Al Jazeera. Michael Valentino Teofrasto Centauran was renting a luxury New York townhouse for $40,000 a month. Then, in May, 17-room Manhattan home became a torture chamber in which his kidnappers kept him for days. When all else failed, they tried to force him to smoke cocaine, and they were unsuccessful. After more than 2 grueling weeks, Peturian managed to escape the townhouse, and Woltz and Duplessis were subsequently arrested and charged with kidnapping and assault. All for his Bitcoin wallet. Partourin's ordeal was one of the latest in the spate of wrench attacks, which we talked about earlier this week. Yes, on May 31st, 26 people were charged for several attempted kidnappings of a top figure in France's crypto world, French prosecutors said. It was the culmination of a police investigation into the kidnapping of an organized gang of the daughter and grandson of CEO crypto firm Paymium in Paris on May 13th, and other successful plans, a failed attempt on the same targets the day before, and another attempt near the western city of Nantes on June 2nd, which we talked about, I think. So 18 people have been placed in a pre-trial detention. 3 have been requested a deferred hearing, and 4 have been placed under judicial supervision. Paris Public Prosecutor's Office said concerning Paris attacks, the suspects are all aged between 16 and 23. That's right, guys. When the economy gets bad and everyone thinks the world's going to end from climate change, young people turn to crime. Very, very violent crime. It's almost like we need to make sure society is good for everybody in order to stop crime. That's right. I'm an anti-prison person. Crazy idea here. I don't believe prison solves anything. To look at why people are doing crimes. France has been the center of several attacks on prominent crypto entrepreneurs in the recent months, but crypto-linked kidnappings have occurred in other countries too. This is, of course, also not just France and in Paris, but also in Canada. Stuff like that as well. So, in part, it's a particularly gruesome turn of events. The kidnappers cut off one of Ballin's fingers and sent a video of the mutilation to Ledger. Within 2 days, however, the French gendarmerie had freed both victims. A lot of very, very violent crime here, all to get their crypto-linked accounts and get their cryptocurrency in. But I guess we'll be talking about these, 23, right? 23 people have been arrested for this crime, at least in France. 26. I have probably some more updates on that in months from now, because it just takes months to actually have a proper criminal course case like this, where you have to Oh, were you even there? You know what? I wasn't even there. I'm like accessory to accessory to accessory. I'm the getaway driver. You know, you can't pin me down.
Yeah. We're gonna make it a crime to be rich, just to be. Oh my God, I'd be looking over my shoulder every day of the week, and then you're gonna hire extra security, and you can't trust your security, so you're gonna have to hire security to watch your security.
To watch your security.
That's right. Let's have them all looking over their shoulder.
No, we're just gonna cause. Honestly, we're just gonna cause the mafia to happen, right? Where you have to be part of the family. You know, if we're all rich, you're part of the family, and if you're not part of the family, you get your fingers cut off.
Okay, I do have I whipped out a limerick in like 30 seconds for this.
Wow. Okay, let's hear it.
Oh, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Let's go.
Okay. So you own millions in Bitcoin. Now you have a battery connected to your groin. Is this a solution? A French-style revolution? If there is there a militia I can join?
Yeah, it's time. I mean, if you want a place that doesn't like rich people, France is definitely the one for you. That's definitely not a place you want to go. If you're rich.
Ask Marie Antoinette how they treat rich people. Let him eat cake. Let him eat crypto, said Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, Paris is a nice place to be, but you know, not for everyone.
Now for my first story, I guess.
Yep, and I'm going to give you a accurate metaphors and.
Okay, 3 stories. Our first one is Vietnam. Vietnam scraps a 2-child policy as aging threatens economic growth. We covered a story on Japan last week, and I didn't know Vietnam had a China-like policy of 2 children, but let's see what we got going on. Hanoi, Vietnam. Vietnam has abolished its long-standing 2-child limit to try to reverse declining birth rates and ease the pressures of an aging population. Again, Vietnam probably should open up your immigration. Just saying. Children being born can't go to work tomorrow. They can't go to work for like 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
So immigration is the reason it will save your population. Again, I don't know why this is an issue anymore. People have gotten used to having small families. Too late now. Anyway, plus you made it really. The oligarchs in this world have made it cost prohibitive to have big families. Done that 30 years. Anyway, in Hanoi, actually 40 years ago, Reagan and ilk. Back to the Associated Press. The National Assembly passed amendments scrapping rules that limit families to having 1 or 2 children, the state-run Vietnam news agency reported on Wednesday. Let's not forget, Vietnam is not necessarily a democracy. It has state-run news, basically the government telling you what to think. So that's kind of scary. The rules were usually stricter for members of the ruling Communist Party who could miss out on promotions or bonuses if they had a 3rd child. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Vietnamese families are having fewer children than ever before. The birth rate in 2021 was 2.11 children per woman, just over the replacement rate required for a population to avoid shrinking over the long term. Since then, the birth rate has steadily declined to 2.1 in 22, 1.96 in 2023, and 1.91 in 2024. No word on how you actually give birth to 0.91 children. Anyway, Vietnam is the only...
It's like when you put together a doll, you know. Oh, I give birth to the arm today, and you know, now I have like 2 legs, I got a torso. I just slowly put it together.
Like Build-A-Bear kit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Vietnam is not the only Asian country with low fertility. Also on Wednesday, the government data in Japan showed the number of new they're decreasing faster than projected. Again, immigration is the answer, boys and girls. I don't know what you're finding. Falling for the 16th straight year, Japan, 16 straight years to a record low of 686,061 in 2024. That's the actual number of births in Japan. Not a lot. A drop of 5.7 compared with the previous year. But unlike Japan, South Korea, or Singapore, Vietnam is still developing an economy. I guess South Korea and Singapore also have rates. When Thu Linh, 37, a marketing manager at the Vietnamese capital, Hanoi, said she and her husband decided to have only 1 child because they wanted to give their 6-year-old son the best education upbringing they could afford. There we go, on Idiocracy, well, I know it. Sometimes I think about having another child so my son can have a sibling, but there's so much financial and time pressure if you have another child. You can always adopt. Don't forget that. Vietnam introduced rules blocking families from having more than 2 children in 1988. Nothing like government get all up in your business. We're going to have that in the country. Well, you already do have it in this country. What am I talking about? To reduce pressure on limited resources after years of war, first with France, then with the United States, as the country transitioned into a more market-oriented economy, the population rose from 62 million to just over 100 million in 2023, the most recent year for which data is available. Vietnam's golden population period, when working-age people outnumbered those who depend on them, began in 2007 and is expected to last until 2039. The number of people who can work is likely to peak in 2042. By 2054, the population may start shrinking. All of this could make it harder to grow the economy since there will be fewer workers while the cost of supporting the needs of our elderly increases. Vietnam is also dealing with an unbalanced gender ratio, partly due to the long-standing preference for sons. Again, sons are not valuable. Once again, sons are not valuable. I don't know why they think they are. They're not. I guess they can go get a job or something, but sons are not that valuable. Genetically, one son can impregnate unlimited daughters, right? They're not that valuable. Females are valuable because they
make more. If we're talking about the economic power of people, right? The more humans, the better.
What I'm saying, if you're only getting a son, the population is never going to increase unless you're just having, 18-year-olds marrying 40-year-olds to have children. I don't know. On Tuesday, the health ministry proposed tripling the fine for choosing a baby's sex before birth. Oh my God, 38,000, state media reported. China imposed one-child policy in 1979 amid worries about overpopulation, but this country faces growing concerns about the long-term economic and societal challenges of the aging population, has been slowly easing the policy to allow a second child and a third child, but with little success. Again, the government, here's what the governments don't learn. When you restrict the behavior for so long, people get used to it, they're not going to go back. Man, going to have 4 kids now. Nobody's going to have 4 kids in China. They can't afford it. There's no reason to. Immigration's your answer, morons. In Japan, the fertility rate fell to a new low of 1.15 in 2024, compared with 1.2 a year earlier, according to the health ministry data. Experts say the government's measures may have not addressed a growing number of young people reluctant to marry. Yeah, people can't afford this shit. Immigration, man, largely focusing on already married couples. The younger generation are increasingly reluctant to marry or have children due to lack of complete job prospects, which is not even true. There's plenty of jobs. You don't want to take those jobs. A high cost of living and general biased corporate culture that adds extra burdens for women and working mothers. Absolutely. Again, in Vietnam, got a United States problem. We have no child care situation. Japan's population of about 124 million is predicted to fall by 87 million by 2070, with 40% of the population over 65. So there's your story on Vietnam, giving up their 2-child policy. Complaining about the overreach of government, there's your classic example.
Yep. Telling people what to do in their private life. Come on. Just like...
That's right. What do you do if they have an extra kid? You fine them. Okay. United States, they fine you. It's called paying for childcare. That's a fine. It's not paid, but it's paid over time.
It's not very. It's not very. This kind of reminds me of economists, right? They want to go free market of ideas, whatever. It's not very free market to be like, we're going to decide that we're going to stop production of human beings. Right. It's like it's exactly like you're trying to control the supply of human beings in your country. It's not going to work because on this thing I will agree there is a sort of free market, right? At some point, your population will reach a cap where it's like, oh, we can't do this anymore. Well, I don't know. I don't actually understand what the ideology behind creating a population cap is for. I'm not sure what that's like. Why they decided to do that.
Well, yeah. They're not solving a problem, right? They didn't solve a problem. They created another problem. The solution to the problem is immigration. It's so obvious. You just go to the local refugee camp. There can't be one too far from Vietnam, right? There's all kinds of freaking unrest everywhere. Go to the closest refugee camp, round up 500 people, and give them jobs. That's simple. I don't even know what to tell you people. It's that simple. Oh no, they're not Asian. They won't fit in. Oh, really? United States has that problem too. We still accept immigrants, even though we take shit for it. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. That's that's the end of your
story?
story?
Asian thing, man. I'm sorry. What's that? Yeah. New story, another story. This is a short story too. Although I make them longer. This one's short. This is from the FarmingdaleObserver.com. I don't know where Farmingdale is, but we'll cover this. Is no byline. The headline is really long. It says they opened a can of salmon that had been expired for 50 years, and what they discovered surprised scientists. It's a sign that the fish comes from a healthy ecosystem. Tin cans, forgotten for decades, reveal valuable clues about the health of marine ecosystem, says the subtitle. A team of American researchers has studied more than 170 cans of salmon, some of them 50 years old, in order to draw unprecedented conclusions. Scientists at the University of Washington recently analyzed cans of canned salmon dating from 1979 to 2021, all expired. Among them was a can that had been out of date for half a century. Inside, the researchers discovered anisakis, marine parasite perfectly preserved by the canning process. This was not a sign of danger, but a very positive ecological clue. Far from indicating poor quality, the presence of these parasites was a sign of healthy marine ecosystems. Oh boy, I can't wait to eat some parasites. I'm sorry. Anyway, Chelsea Wood, co-author of the study, insists the presence of anisakids, I guess I don't know, is an indicator of the fish in your plate comes from a healthy marine environment. These parasites follow a complex cycle, first ingested by the krill. They then move onto a fish such as a salmon before finishing their development in the intestines of marine animals. Their survival and abundance are therefore closely linked to the stability of an entire food web. By comparing boxes from different decades, the researchers observed a gradual increase in the number of anisakids present in the salmon. This phenomenon could reflect a stable ecosystem or even one in a process of regeneration, but other explanations are being considered, including the impact of climate change and the growth of marine animal populations in the North Pacific region. Despite their scientific interests, these parasites can be a danger to human health under certain conditions and can cause severe food poisoning.
Anyone know any parasites that aren't?
Well, yeah, parasites get a bad rap, right? This duality poses a challenge. How can we reconcile their essential role in the biosphere with the risks they pose to our food supply? Many efforts are being made to limit these dangers. Fish eaten raw and or dried must be either cooked at 60 degrees Celsius for at least 1 minute. Well, if they're eaten raw, then they're not cooked at 60 degrees. 60 degrees Celsius, or what is that in Fahrenheit? Not quite, like 100 degrees, something like that. 150 maybe? Or frozen 5 days before consumption. All right, so you can cook it almost boiling, or frozen for 5 days. Not even almost boiling, like half a boiling, a little more. But in this case of canned fish, the problem is avoided from the outset. The thermal sterilization process used during canning eliminates any risk, making them perfectly safe to eat. Well, except for the parasites. The next step for the research team will be study old preserves in greater depth in order to gain a better understanding of long-term ecological dynamics and the effect of climate change on marine fauna. It's an ambitious project, long-term, a simple tin of salmon forgotten in a cupboard. So this was written by Rose Dixon. She put her name at the end for some reason. Most people put it at the start, but not Rose. She's special. There's your story. Parasites. I remember going to Paris and seeing the parasites.
I don't know. I hope not. I mean, there was a bed bug infestation while we were in Paris, actually. We were lucky enough to not get, as far as I remember, I didn't get any bites. But there was a bed bug infestation when we were there back in, 2023.
Sorry.
Oh.
I just had to in a bad pun. It was unrelated.
No.
Story. Bad pun.
Parasites are, well, like everything in life, a pain in the ass. Okay, there's like, wait.
Eventually.
Let's roll the next segue for my next stories here. We've got.
Oh, I did send you a video clip.
Okay,
so,
great.
There you go. All right.
Got a hypothetical.
What's my what? Okay, all right.
First story is about Kosovo getting some Danish prisoners. Europeans are excited about that prospect, but local people aren't so excited about getting more prisoners in their local area, I'm sure. This is on Digi24. By 2027, Denmark will transfer up to 300 of its foreign prisoners to a special detention center in Kosovo, according to an agreement recently ratified by the Kosovo authorities. Prisoners will not be able to be convicted of terrorism. Prisoners will not be people convicted of terrorism or war crimes, and after serving their sentences, they will be deported to their countries of origin. In return, Copenhagen will pay 200 million euros, an amount more than 6 times the annual budget of the Kosovo Ministry of Justice. The project has raised concerns among locals, prison guards, and several NGOs, but is attracting increasing interest from other European countries facing the problem of overcrowding in prisons, reports AFP. The agreement signed in 2022 and ratified by Kosovo MPs in 2024 provides for the reception of up to 300 foreign prisoners convicted in Denmark. So they're not all from Denmark, but they were convicted in Denmark. None of them must have been convicted of terrorism or war crimes, suffering from mental illness or incurable disease, and after serving their sentences in Kosovo, they will be sent back to their country of origin. In return, Denmark will pay 200 million euros, more than 6 times the annual budget of the Ministry of Justice. The detainees will be incarcerated in a center dedicated entirely to them on the outskirts of a town of Pas de Calais, approximately 50 kilometers south of the capital, Pristina, where work will begin soon. From the main road, the narrow road leading to the detention center divides the village in two, leaving approximately 1,500 of its residents on one side, while the school, mosque, and cemetery are on the other side, close to the prison, which is surrounded by barbed wire and high observation posts. This reminds me of the prison nearby where I live. I didn't even know it was there. There's a prison very close to me, like 10 minutes away. I had no idea it was there. It's almost up, like, accurately immersed in the background, right, of the town. You don't know it's there at all, and then I guess you can kind of see some watchtowers, but it's not like the typical watchtowers you expect to see in a prison yard. Yeah, because I was like, what is that big building over there? And Robert was like, that's a prison. I'm like, oh, I had no idea there was a prison here. But it sounds like that's what they're doing here. They're doing a very kind of immersed prison going on. We don't know who they will bring or if they will pose a threat to the village, says Zeka, a 57-year-old farmer who serves as mayor. If they were good, Denmark would keep them and not transfer them outside its territory. I think they're just running out of space. And they want to keep the longer-term people somewhere else, right? If you're going to be in prison for 3 years, you can go to Kosovo, right? But if you only be in prison for a month or something, yeah, you can stay in Denmark. Your room's going to be cleared quickly enough. His wife, Hazime, 57, regrets that there is a prison near her home, but says she can't do anything about it. We weren't asked for our opinion, she says. Doubts are spread even inside the prison, where guards feel discriminated against. We will continue to work for the same salary, but within a Danish system, which is more demanding as some of the strictest standards in Europe, one of them explained to AFP during a visit to the prison. According to agreement, Kosovo must make the necessary adjustments to its prison facilities to ensure that they meet the requirements of the state of origin. Denmark, notes Ismail Debrini, director of the Kosovo's prison services. Of course, the layout would be adapted to the Danish prison system, Debrani adds. He says there will be workshops where prisoners can work in typography, fashion design, etc. On the Danish side, the government appointed a senior civil servant, Mads Bayer, in April to manage the prison in cooperation with local authorities. His task, he confirmed to AFP, will be to ensure the prisoners serve their sentences in accordance with Danish rules under conditions comparable to those that apply in Danish prisons. Although the UN Committee Against Torture has expressed concern about the project, and as has the European Committee for Prevention of Torture and Inhumane or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, as well as several NGOs, the Kosovo example is of great interest to most of Europe. Relocating prisoners is a topic that is not taboo, French President Emmanuel Macron recently said. On Tuesday, the 3rd of June, Sweden announced its intention to rent detention facilities in Estonia. Unlike most European countries that are facing prison overcrowding, we have sufficient capacity, insists Brani. The capacity of our prisons today is 2,800 places, while we currently have approximately 1,800 inmates. After signing the agreement, we received numerous requests from European countries for huge sums of money, but we have not discussed this yet, they added. Of course, as always, when governments are getting huge sums of money, you have to be worried about corruption, because some people want to get into that pie and do some naughty things with that money. Kosovo better watch out, I guess, for inside, not out from the outside, inside, what's going on with their money. You have a hypothetical about that?
Yeah. What if we, instead of sending these, isn't Kosovo kind of an unstable government, right?
No, they've recently kind of stabilized. Really.
Okay. I'm just saying, because wasn't the UK sending them to friggin' Somalia or something like that, or where were they sending? Oh, it was Uganda, right? Somewhere in Africa.
They were sending people. They were sending people to. I can't remember the name of the place either, but they weren't not to Kosovo. No, not within Europe. It was all the way. Yeah.
And they're being punished for what exactly? Just various crimes, or
I think it's like criminals, but it's not terrorists. So probably still murderers, maybe rapists. You know, so that's why the village is like, I'm kind of worried there's a prison which might be harboring rapists and murderers, you know.
Right. Well, I guess if it's cost effective, but I just imagine that paying to house these prisoners anyway, and they're just housing them in a different country. It's just weird.
It would have been nicer for them to explicitly state, you know, these are long-term prisoners or they're short-term prisoners. It's like, oh, this, you know, if everyone's going to be there for 10 years in prison, yeah, maybe that would matter to the village. They didn't really give those details.
I think hypothetically, these countries agree to these programs like Kosovo because they need money. And
yeah, exactly.
It's a moneymaker, and they can hire prison guards. Basically, I don't want to denigrate prison guards, but you don't have to go to college to be a prison guard, you know.
But these prison guards might have to go to college because they have to learn a whole new system of being a prison guard according to the Danish system, whatever that is. All right, you can't beat them in a bloody pulp.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope. But if it's like the United States, oh, we need all these people right away. Let's lower our standards, right? Yeah. Anyway. There's your hypothetical, I guess. Semi-hypothetical.
Okay, for my next story, let's talk about farming. We need farmers. Let's all agree they, are the backbone to society. Actually, we wouldn't have society without farmers. They're the first thing that stayed in place and made money and all that stuff. But they are always struggling, and in the UK, I've been struggling a lot because it's been the driest spring in nearly 70 years. This is from Emily Bayment on The Independent. British farmers are bracing for a potentially disastrous harvest following the hottest spring on record, compounded by the driest conditions seen in decades, one analysis reveals. Yeah, this is not the time to be complaining about the weather in the UK because maybe you needed all that water in overcast weather, huh? The Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, ECIU, warns that climate change is already having a devastating impact on farmers food security, and shopping bills, and recent weather extremes will negatively impact the upcoming harvest. The warning comes as concerns mount that the government will cut funding for sustainable farming in the upcoming spending review. That's right, if you want us to be sustainable, not today. You better start spending tons and tons of money on water, because you're going to need that water to plants. Make sure your plants don't dry up. Farmers and environmentalists warn that such cuts would undermine the efforts for nature, build resilience to climate shocks, and support communities. Martin Lyons, chief executive of the Nature Friendly Farming Network, said this year's arable harvest was on a knife's edge, stressed the need of funding to build resilience. Experts say the nature-friendly farming measures such as promoting healthy soils, boosting natural predators of crop pests, can significantly enhance agricultural resilience to climate extremes. Mr. Lyme, who farms in Cambridgeshire, said, "Months of dry weather have left my crops stressed, and with their yield potential now capped, even if we get a good bit of rain, this is what farming in changing climate looks like." And he said, "It's wreaking havoc with my ability to plan, and many farmers are now facing yet more financial losses this harvest, just as support for nature-friendly farming is being called into question. Nature-friendly farming is the backbone of rural resilience. Cutting funding now won't save money. It will cost us all in the long run," he warned. The UK has experienced its hottest spring in records dating back to the 19th century, and its driest in more than 50 years, with a rainfall of just 40% of the average levels. Ooh, what's the average level rainfall in average? I'm gonna look this up because I want to know. Because I know in Maryland, where I mostly grew up in, it was like 80% of the year is rain or something like that. A ridiculous amount of average rainfall. 80% of the year is just it's wet. Not sure what because the average amount of rainfall in millimeters, which I don't know what that is. As of 2024, it was about 1,300 millimeters of rain. So 1,500 is a very rare. 1,500, 1,800 is the peak. So 40% of that, cut that in half a little bit. A little bit over a half. So instead of getting 1,500 millimeters of rain, they're only getting 300 or 450. So that's a pretty big decrease in rain that you're expecting for your rainfall. England suffered the driest 3 months from March to May in more than 100 years, Met Office figures also show. Northwest of England is already a drought, and the Environment Agency has warned of a risk of more widespread drought without sustained rainfall. Analysis from ECIU estimates the production of main arable crops, wheat, barley, oats, and oilseed rape could once again be near all-time lows, following the third worst harvest on record last year after extreme rainfall in the winter 23 and 24. The assessment draws on the most recent crop development survey from the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, AEB, which identified the major decline in crop conditions due to the dry spring, reducing yield potential despite recent rainfall. Yeah, I mean, the rain's come too late is what they're saying. No, okay, it's rained recently. Great. Too late, though. The crops have already gotten used to there being no water, so they have sprouted as much as they're going to sprout, and the crops themselves are probably ready for the summer, right? They're like, I'm expecting no water, so I'm going to grow very little.
Puny this year.
Very, very tiny oats and wheat and barley and rape. It looks at 3 scenarios reflecting what might happen with rainfall in the coming weeks. Crop condition is maintained at current levels. Yields would be in line with last year, leading to worse harvest in 2024 due to fewer acres of rape and barley planted, outweighing an increased wheat and making 2025 the second worst harvest in records dating back to the 1980s. If rain helps crops condition improve and yields recover to the 10-year average, the UK harvest would be the 7th worst on record, the ECIU estimates. It's still going to be bad, but if it rains, it won't be as bad. If crop conditions continue to decline and yields are equivalent to the 2020, the worst harvest so far since detailed reported in 1984, this year could be the worst harvest on record. Tom Lancaster, land, food, and farming analyst, said, climate change is already having a devastating impact on UK farming and our collective food security, pushing up shopping bills and leaving many farmers at the end of their tether. Although it's too early to tell what the true impact will be of the record-breaking dry spring, we know enough to conclude that if it will have had a negative impact. It's already going to be bad. It's already going to be bad, guys. That's why I'm warning you. And you might think, oh, who cares about wheat and barley, whatever, bread. I can live without bread. The thing is, a lot of this stuff is also feed for animals. Your animals are not going to have food, and they're going to die. And then if you don't have animals, you're not going to have, your proteins.
Organ.
You're going to start eating crickets. It sounds like we're going to start all eating crickets by the end of the year because that's the only thing that will be alive to eat. This is, of course, a very bad scenario. It should not cause a famine. But I think this is a warning sign of a famine for UK farmers. That, if this keeps on going down, 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 not only will you not be able to make a sustainable farm, which means you're just going to be in the black forever. You're just going to be in debt forever, and you're never going to be able to pay anything. And you're probably going to have to close up shop, right? Farms will start closing down, maybe. Not this year. Yeah, this isn't happening this year. This isn't happening this year. But although it's too early to tell what the true impact would be of this record-breaking dry spring, we know enough to conclude that it will have a negative impact. He said scientists were clear warmer springs were a feature of climate change, making the impact of a dry spring more severe, while extreme wet winters were also being fueled by rising temperatures. It's great that winters are wet, but nothing grows in the winter, right? So you just have all this water you can't do anything with. Many crops.
If there's a snowpack, it matters.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, the reason why we have seasons, right, is not just the weather, but how the sun is, right? In the winter, the sun is not close enough to the planet in order to actually help plants grow. And there's less sun and it's not close. It's not hot.
Why you build greenhouses?
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's going to start having to build greenhouses so they can grow stuff in the winter because that's the only time there's going to be water. Many crops were hit. I'm laughing because it's just like, what am I supposed to do? I'm just one person. Many crops were hit by extreme.
You're loaded with canals and greenhouses. What's the problem here?
Get some aquifers building. Many crops were hit by extreme rainfall in England last September and October, just as winter crops should have been drilled, delaying them to spring and making them more vulnerable to recent dry, warm weather. It was too wet to put them in the ground. They were just going to float away. In this volatile context, the outcome of the spending review next week will be a crucial moment for farming in this country, and whether the government realizes what's at stake for UK farming and food security in a rapidly changing climate. Mr. Lancasters. So there's your update on farming in the UK and probably farming everywhere else. It's raining here today, but I haven't asked any Dutch farmers what they think of the harvest this year. I could. I'm surrounded by farms in all directions. But where I live is called the Green Country. This is where all of the farms are. So it's still green out here. The problem with the UK is that they're in the middle of the ocean, so they get a bunch of wind currents from different oceans and stuff. And that can really affect their weather. Hypothetically.
What would farmers do without help from the government? That's my hypothetical.
They wouldn't exist.
In this country especially, people think, farmers are self-sufficient, which is complete horseshit.
No.
I know, I grew up on a farm. We were not self-sufficient. Not even. We had a thing called price supports. And my parents were like, we can't have socialism. Well, I'm going to vote Republican. But they were all in favor of that socialism, giving them artificially high milk prices. Because if milk had to depend on the free market, we would have got jack shit for it. We would have had to go out of business.
It would have spoiled.
We did eventually anyway.
You'd have to become a cheese farm because that's the only way the milk would stay good. It would turn into cheese.
As the Republicans say in America, socialism for me, but not for thee. Anyway.
And also, of course, the other reason why farming is not what are the? I just forgot the phrase, but corporations, and right. I know in America they do this, where they charge you for the seeds, they charge you to use their genome and whatever, so you have to pay them for the seeds. and then you have to pay them to sell them the stuff that you made from their seeds. There's a lot of corporate investing into farming that adds a bunch of more costs and stuff to farming. So you can't just go out there. For I think a lot of people, it's like this. You can't just go out there and start a farm. You have to pay for the land. You have to tell the people what you're doing with the land. You have to pay to tell the people, this is what I'm doing with the land. I have to pay for these things, this, that. There's a lot of costs.
To grow.
Exactly.
You pay them not to grow. Farming in the United States is the #1 corporate welfare. Corporations get free subsidized water to grow almonds in this country, and almonds more water than any other crop, and they produce nothing of any value that we can't replace with anything else. Nobody goes, oh my God, we have almonds. Nobody's ever said that. We gotta drink almond milk. I will not buy almond milk at all. I don't even buy almonds anymore because of the fact that the government totally subsidizes that industry. Grow up. Compete in the fair market like the rest of us.
I can't even remember the last time I ate an almond. I guess they put it in cookies here. They have a lot of almond meal, whatever, like a filling.
Yeah. Most subsidized water in the United States is the almond growing industry, and it just evaporates. That's all it does. It soaks in. Some of it soaks into the roots of but they just grow almonds in puddles and puddles of water.
Like rice.
Just evaporated into the sky. Yeah, it just goes away. Fresh water, it's never used by anybody else except these trees that produce this crop we don't need for anything. So, if almonds stopped happening tomorrow, nobody would care. Not even slightly. Unless you're hooked on almond milk and then drink something else.
Oat milk is better anyways. Oat milk is better environmentally.
Oat milk is not that. Yeah, oat does not. Oats grows a lot less.
Okay, our next segue is a non sequitur for your story.
It's from the BBC.com. Jocelyn Smith's the name of the woman who did this, or is accused of it. Kayania Salih Kobo. I think that's her name. The reporter's name from BBC. A mother has told her 6-year-old daughter given life term in South Africa. So not just accused, she was convicted. What a shitty person. Anyway, the court heard that on the day that Jocelyn Smith disappeared, she did not go to school, because she did not have a clean uniform. A South African woman convicted of kidnapping and trafficking her 6-year-old daughter. How do you kidnap your own daughter?
6.
Has been sentenced to life in prison, along with her 2 accomplices.
Good.
Screw them.
Yeah.
Hope they get beaten to a pulp, actually. The jail terms for Raquel Kelly Smith, her boyfriend Jacqueline Paulus, and their friends Stevenio and Rijn. Van Rijn sounds Dutch. Come home more than a year after Jocelyn Smith mysteriously disappeared outside her home and, the Dutch word, the big South African colonizers. The Dutch and the, the Belgians? No, the Belgians were. The Belgians or the Dutch? One of the two, or both, right? Anyway, they had gold and they had to get there. Come more than a year after Jocelyn Smith disappeared outside her home in Saldanha Bay near Cape Town. Despite a highly publicized search for the girl who vanished in February 2024, she is yet to be found. Oh, lovely. South African prosecutors say she was sold into slavery. However, this was not definitely proven during the trial. It's believed that Smith, who was addicted to drugs, needed the money. The sentencing follows an 8-week trial that captivated South Africa, with witnesses and prosecutors making a number of shocking allegations. Judge Nathan Erasmus said
you can only be shocked. The premise, right? And that if they found more things, that's crazy. Yeah, the premise is already shocking.
Yeah, I have not heard of this trial in South America or South Africa. I keep saying South America. I don't know, it's a mental block or something. Judge Nathan Erasmus said he drew no distinction between the trio when handing down the sentences. On the human trafficking charge, you were sentenced to life imprisonment. On the kidnapping charge, you were sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment. The case of life actually extends beyond life. He said loud applause in the courtroom. Kelly Smith refused to testify in the 8-week trial. Judge Erasmus took over an hour to deliver a sentence and was measured as he gave a brief summary of the case and highlighted points that stood out during the trial. He rebuked the trio, especially Van Ryn and Smith, saying they showed no remorse for their action. There's nothing that I can find as redeeming or deserving of a lesser sentence, he said. He also spoke of an impact to conduct in the community of Delpos, where the girl lived, saying it had left residents fractured. Smith, who's 35, and her accomplices showed no emotion as their sentences were read out in the community center in Saldanha, where the trial was held, to allow residents to attend the proceedings. Police said the search for the little girl will continue even beyond South Africa's borders. We will not rest until we find out what happened to Jocelyn. We are continuing day and night looking for her. West Cape Police Commissioner Bembisili Tekili told the local media. The National Prosecuting Attorney, the NPA, welcomed the sentence and lauded the work of its team in proving that Jocelyn was sold and delivered to an intended buyer for the purpose of exploitation, namely slavery or practices similar to slavery. During the trial, the identity of the intended buyer was never revealed. The BBC asked the NPA for further details, however, a spokesperson was able to provide any. Emotions were high ahead of the sentencing, with angry community members saying the trio should get harsh sentencing because they deserve it. There's a picture of an old picture of the girl on her shirt. I'm not sure. Oh, it's her grandmother, Josh's grandmother. As said, any sentence, he says not feel that any sentence can bring back her granddaughter. Well, she comes back. Don't you want that? Anyway, ahead of sentencing, Jocelyn's grandmother, Amanda Smith Daniels, once again pleaded with her own daughter to bring my grandchild back to me where she is. Or tell me where she is, Or tell me where she is.
Yeah, like, where'd she go? Missing.
And she's basically disowned her own daughter for being a scumbag. I don't feel any sentence they get will bring back my grandchild back, she told local broadcaster News Africa. Miss Smith Daniels said that Jocelyn's disappearance had left her family broken. She urged her daughter to stop blaming others for his misfortune, but she was the person that did the deed. During the trial, the court heard testimonies from more than 30 witnesses who painted a picture of a young girl's troubled life and subsequent disappearance. Kelly Smith and her accomplices refused to testify or call any witnesses for their defense. The most explosive came from Laurentia Lombard, a friend and neighbor of Smith who turned a witness. Ms. Lombard alleges Smith told her she had done something silly and sold Jocelyn a traditional healer known as in South Africa as a sangama. How can they haven't found this person yet? Man. Anyway, the person who allegedly took Jocelyn wanted her for her eyes and her skin.
Oh, God.
Holy fucking shit. A local pastor testified in 2023 he had heard Smith, a mother of three, talk of selling her children for $20,000, 20,000 rand, which is $1,100 or 850 pounds each. Wow. Though she had said she was willing to accept a lower figure of $275. All right, you can have a kid for $275.
That's way more than I would sell my kid for. Not that I would ever sell a kid, but I'm just saying that's not enough money, okay? That's not enough money.
You mean that's way less?
Yeah, sorry, way less than I would sell a kid for. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Go to an auction and see what you can get, right? Jocelyn's teacher then alleged in court that Smith had told her during the search that her daughter was already on a ship inside a container and they were on the way to West Africa. Brilliant. What a stupid, just unbelievable. It was the testimonies of Ms. Lombard and the clergyman that were key to securing a conviction. During the sentencing hearing, Smith was described as a manipulative and someone who told bald-faced lies. A social worker appointed to compile a report on Smith and her accomplishments went so far as to say it would not be a stretch to conclude that Kelly Smith is the mastermind behind the trafficking of her own daughter. The course also heard powerful statements from those who knew Jocelyn about the devastating effect of her disappearance on the community. So there's your daily reminder that humans really aren't that smart. So some of us are working on it.
Some people are sociopaths. I don't understand how you do that. Wow, that's
some people only care about the next fun thing they can do, and
Yeah.
she's one of those.
Well,
So,
for your non sequitur, I guess I'm gonna go sell my loved ones for 1,000 euros to a medicine man who turn their nails into medicine or something. I'm gonna start selling my nails. Here you go. 1,000 euros, please.
I just wonder the pounding that people are going to take in prison, just in general public and trial. You know, prisons they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to beat the shit out of this guy. I was a
I mean,
child.
nobody
I
likes. Nobody in society likes a mother who abandons their child. Sadly, it's a you
Oh
know, it
my
is
God.
a double standard. You know, no, but nobody. If a
Again,
mom does it, it's even worse, right? If a dad does it, okay, whatever. But a
Prisons-
mom does it, it's like 10
prisons
times.
are full. It's not a secret that prisons are full of people that were children, right?
Yeah.
So they got a particular grievance against
Against
adults who abuse
shitty
children.
parents, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, sending them to prison for life, they probably don't even regret their actions to this day. This is why they got
Mhm.
that sentence. Again, shitty people get what they deserve eventually, I guess.
Life in prison,
But
baby.
this girl, hopefully she's out there. Hopefully she's found. Hopefully she's intact.
She still has her skin, yeah. That'd be
a lot
nice.
of people have given up. A lot of people have given up, but you know, I just, you know, I don't know. Humans are just a failed experiment. Sorry, a failed experiment. It's been proven time and again. We haven't.
Well,
figured shit out yet.
let's look at something more positive then, which
All right.
is some wacky animals. That's right. I've got some pictures for you of some wildlife awards, Nikon's Comedy Wildlife Awards. Just, you know,
Can I see
it's
the
pretty.
pictures or-
And you got a non sequitur for our segue.
Okay. All right.
So it's always fun to go out there, take photos of animals, and sometimes you can get some pretty funny ones. This is by David Morquand on Euronews Culture. A waving water dragon, some lion shenanigans, and one hell of a majestic deer. Here are the favorites of this year's Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards for Euronews Culture. 2025 Comedy Wildlife Photography Awards are delivering the goods when it comes to giggles and marveling at the animal kingdom. While there are chuckles to be had, the mission is serious. Under the banner Conservation Through Competition, the Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards works to raise awareness. Founded in 2015 by photographers Paul Joensen Hicks, MBE, and Tom Salam, to celebrate the lighter side of wildlife photography. The awards showcase how funny wildlife photography can help promote wildlife conservation efforts. Our world is an extraordinarily beautiful and interconnected, yet the human race is doing its best to overexploit and damage it, says Joensen Hicks. Issues of wildlife conservation and sustainability are gaining momentum globally, yet the messages and images tend to be negative, depressing, and enervating. Professional and amateur photographers can submit their wildlife snaps for free until the 30th of June, and this year's winners will feature an exhibition at the gallery at Gallery at OXO, London in December. So, in the meantime, here are some of the ones that David has found in this year's submissions. The first one, let me put this on screen for you guys to see, because they are hard to ignore, these. First one is of this gecko, I believe. Waving Dragon by Trevor Ricks. Wandering along the Moombuddied River, we spotted a few lizards scurrying under the rocks looking for lunch. Next thing, this junior Gippsland water dragon popped up and gave us a friendly wave. Trevor Ricks. Hello!
He's got a commercial to do.
Yeah. Then we've got If Tom Cruise Can, We Can. We've got two lions. And I think it's more of like a lion cub maybe sniffing another lion's ass here. That's what it looks like.
Oh my.
Give it a try.
No.
The image shows lion siblings at play, where one of the siblings seems to be pushing the other one to do stuff that annoys their mom. Lions aren't natural climbers, so it looks like one sibling is encouraging the other to do something naughty. This is from Bhargava Trivedi.
It's
Next
Dan.
up.
No, it's
Oh my god! That's a reference. We've got a mudfish, I believe these are called. Yeah, mud skippers. Sorry, mud skippers. Who laugh like no one's watching. Two joyful mud skippers look like they're having the best time in the mud. I knew what the joke was. This is from Emma Parker. Witness me! This roe deer was running around and suddenly coming the photographer's way. They had only one chance and they nailed it. Like, mid-jump deer. Just perfectly flying through the air. It's bath time for these penguins. Queuing for the polar plunge. A really spontaneous shot from an expedition ship in Antarctica. The Gen 2 penguins seemed to orderly wait in queue to finally jump into the sea. By Martin Schmid. Wow. You wanted a palace, Sharon? Now you've got one. This is a huge nest in a, like, the most wranglably up twisted tree you've ever seen. It's a 2 foot, no. Even more, a yard, a meter long, just vertical nest. I hate IKEA. Wow. Photo taken on October 30th, 2024 at the Kruger National Park in South Africa outside Kutu Camp. The common Minia built a large nest by Brian Hempstead. And our final one, I believe. White-tailed sea eagles don't share. Way. This was taken in Japan, where observing a white-tailed sea eagle, putting the fish in a hole and protecting it. This one had a fish and saw another eagle coming to try and steal it from Annette Kirby. Okay, no, I think actually this one's the last one. And our last photo, onwards, Tonto! We've got one lizard sitting on top of the head of another lizard. Commandeered! A lava lizard takes charge of a Galapagos marine iguana and sets off on a ride. Judging by the iguana's possessed eyes, lava lizard may have taken over its soul, too. These two silly billies were hanging out with a big bunch of marine iguanas on a rocky beach. Rochelle McIntosh. So, yet again, reminder, have until the 30th of June. If you have any mature or professional wildlife photos, submit them for the Nikon Comedies Wildlife Awards. And let's see how, I'll try to remember to actually look at these coming on the 30th of June, maybe even after that. Who's the winner of these wacky animal photography?
Yeah, non sequitur. I was hoping it was actually animals taking the pictures.
Not this time.
Still not disappointed. Anyway.
All right, let's roll our last segue wheel for this day in history.
Give a gorilla a camera, give a raccoon a camera, right?
See what they come up with.
Give a squirrel a camera. Yeah, see what happens.
All right, it's alliteration headline time.
Alliteration headline for this day in history. I'll play the fanfare music. Okay, June 6th in the year, way back in 1622, we're going to talk about Pope Gregory XV created the Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith for the organization and the direction of the missions of the Roman Catholic Church to the non-Christian world.
Yeah! People telling you how to live your life based on a book. We love those guys.
That's right. Missions, in other words. Yeah, we're going to go to these people. Oh, they haven't heard about our special invisible man yet. We got to tell them.
Their lives are fine. They have no issues going on, but let's cause some issues by making them change their entire belief system.
Well, they're not. Yeah, right. They're not wearing clothes. They must be ashamed of their bodies like us. Let's teach them that. Anyway, idiotic religious bullshit happened in 1622 in this day. Anyway, 1844, George Williams originated the Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA. It's on this day at the YMCA.
And happy Pride Month! Woohoo!
And of course, it was established in London, the first YMCA. Know that.
No, I didn't. I thought it was an American association this whole time.
There you go. You know,
More
it's just a
proof that
Christian
all
association.
British people are gay. That's your non sequitur.
It's a Christian organization, not a government or national organization. It's a Christian organization. Again, indoctrinating you into
Christians were gay this whole
man.
time. Who would have thought? I'm officially making
wow.
YMC the gay place. I don't care.
Hey, whatever swings your whatever. Anyway, in 1892, Chicago's elevated loop train in 1892, commonly known as the L, began operating and became one of the longest and busiest mass transits in the United States. And they couldn't build it underground because, to start with, Chicago was built too low at the beginning, and they had to raise it, I think, 6 feet or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's definitely no room for a subway underneath the buildings. So they had to build it underground in most places. 1925, the automobile manufacturer Chrysler was incorporated with Walter P. Chrysler as president. That's why it's called Chrysler. That's actually somebody's name. That's 100 years ago. Happy anniversary to Chrysler. You're 100 years old. 1934, the Securities Exchange Commission, a U.S. regulatory agency that does absolutely nothing, was established. Does nothing. It fines people. It fines banks who, you know, hey, we're a bank. We made $800 trillion last year. And, oh, we did something wrong. The SEC fined us $2 million. Anyway, SEC, most ineffective agency ever. 1956, Swedish tennis player Bjorn Borg, who was considered one of the sport's greatest competitors, was born. So, happy birthday, Bjorn Borg, turning, he's turning 69 today. Happy 69, Mr.
Nice.
In 1982, on this day, Israel invaded Lebanon. Israel is doing this stuff, huh? And
wow, what a great guy.
Well, they subsequently defeated the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, the Syrian Armed Forces, and assorted leftist Lebanese groups. So, yeah, there was Israel taking care of, back then, the PLO was Yasser Arafat. Later signed a peace deal with.
And then they continued to be like America and break all the treaties with them, probably.
And I believe, Yasser Arafat won the Nobel Prize, or a share of it for that. He went from being a terrorist, marked as a terrorist by everybody in the world. Prize. 1988, the American TV show Sex and the City, starring Sarah Jessica Parker, began airing on HBO. Sex and the City, not Sex in the City, as some people call it.
Yeah, they definitely were doing it outside of city bounds.
Yeah. And it became one of the most popular and influential TV shows in the late 1900s and 2000s. People realized, single woman has sex, I never do. 2004, for her performance in A Raisin in the Sun, Felicia Rashad became the first African-American to win a Tony Award for Best Actress. Rashad previously played Mrs. Huxtable on The Cosby Show. It was called Cosby. Sorry, it was just called Cosby. 2015, American Pharoah won the Belmont Stakes, becoming the first thoroughbred in more than 35 years to capture horse racing's Triple Crown, which consists of the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, which is held up the road in Baltimore here, and the Belmont Stakes, which is held in New York State at Belmont Park. So there's your Triple Crown winner, and it's been 10 years already since a Triple Crown winner. Last time I had to wait 35 years between affirmed, I believe, affirmed in 77, and says more than 35 years. Yeah, it was 38 years. Anyway, our feature biographies, Normandy invasion, our featured event, featured event is the Normandy invasion, and led by the U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, an allied armada of ships, planes, and a landing craft of 156,000 troops began the invasion of northern France from England on this day, 1944, the famous D-Day of World War II. But that was 80 today. Feature biography, Diego Velázquez, a Spanish painter. He died on August 6th, 1660 in Madrid. Doesn't say when he was born, but I imagine this is his birthday. Otherwise, why would we be talking about him? Because he died in August. So happy birthday to him. Somewhere around his birthday. It's also the birthday of Alexandra, the Empress Consort of Russia. She was born in 1872. She, I guess, married one of ours. 1875, Thomas Mann, German author, was Thomas Mann. 1901, Sukarno, president of Indonesia, was born. We already covered Bjorn Borg. It's the birthday of Paul Giamatti, American actor, born in 1967. Did a lot of good movies. One of them guys is like 10 movies every year, and you know him. Yeah, it's Paul Giamatti. So he's turning 58 today. And national days today, besides D-Day, which is hopefully the end of fascism in Europe. It's National Eyewear Day. Oh, let me put my glasses on. My eyewear. National Eyewear Day. Oh, and it's National Donut Day. Donut, depending how you spell it, D-O-G-H-N-U-T or D-O-N-U-T. Donut. I think donut has to have D-O-U-H. I think that's proper spelling. It's National Higher Education Day and National Applesauce Cake Day. So if you're having applesauce cake and a donut, you're living large today. Those are your days for today. Your mispronunciations, your spins of the wheel, your bogus claims, everything else we made today. June 6th. June 6, 2025 on Before Donuts.
Yesterday was actually, there was a 2-for-2 deal for donuts at my corner shop here. 16 donuts. We did not get any. That was too many donuts, but 16 donuts.
16
donuts. 2 for 2.
That's more Baker's dozen. 13,
yeah,
man.
Baker dozen.
Okay.
Here is our alliterations. I have technically 4 different alliterations here. Normandy's Navy navigated ne'er, forgetting fateful day. Paul's playful persona perfectly premiered, pleasant, particularly poignant. Yonder, young yo-yo yoink, yielding toys, tricky twirls, and timeless tricks. Try to say that 10 times fast.
You just got all the points. You got all the points.
Yeah,
No
I mean, I
points
cheated a
left for
little. I
anybody
cheated
else.
a little by switching the letter in the middle to another more alliterations. But hey, you know, we gotta be clever here. Oh my God! Is there an international UN observance today? It is Russian Language Day. That's right. Hate the government, not the people. Russia is a very old language. It's also one of the spoken everywhere, not just in Russia. June 6th, the birth date of Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, who is considered to many the greatest Russian poet, as well as the founder of modern Russian literature. Russian Language Day is a result of a 2010 initiative by the UN's Department of Global Communications, establishing language days for each of the organization's 6 official languages, which we've had a couple times already, right? We had Chinese Day, Spanish Day, French Day, I think, as well. So celebrate Russian today, learn your favorite curse word, and yell at everyone in it for Russian Day. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US, as we tie off another week and another Friday's news dump. You are now free to go off and have a leisurely, stress-free weekend because you know everything that's going on. And yes, the Elon Musk Trump drama is insider trading. Confirm that right now. I know you guys are probably talking about that on social media. It's insider trading. It's all a trick to make the stock line go up and down. We will see you on Mucking Fun Day for another week and some more news. So take care of yourself out there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ali and Raj, and you have that notification bell turned on so you're notified when we post a video and go live. Remember, if you watch this live, you get all the secrets that we talked about before and after the show. Ooh!
Have secrets?
And you can chat with us live while we're on the show as well. So take care of yourselves. And here is our D-Day celebratory mic drop moment. Celebratory. I almost couldn't say that word out of my mouth. 81 years celebrating
You are about to embark upon
allies
a great
taken back
crusade toward which
the
we have
mainland
striven
Europe
many months.
from the
The eyes
fascists.
of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you.
all these people
In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts,
Yep.
you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine.
Imagine a lot of people,
The tyranny over the oppressed peoples
a
of
lot of
Europe.
people couldn't eat, but they were
and
forced to
security
eat,
for
right? It's like, we don't
ourselves in a
care.
free world.
You eat your
Your task
breakfast,
will not be an
okay?
easy one. Your enemy is well
I
trained,
said this
well
before,
equipped,
if I
and
was
battle
going to land
hardened.
on D-Day, I would not
He will
take my
fight
pack,
savagely.
I would not take my gun, I would
But
not
this
take
is the
anything.
year
I would just swim
1944.
for my life.
Much
Yeah.
has happened
When I got
since
to
the
the
Nazi
beach, I would
triumph
take it
of
to-
1940-41.
Because
The United Nations have
Military
inflicted
vessel.
upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man.
all those pack, all that
Our
stuff
air
didn't slow you
offensive has
down.
seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground.
Just you and your
Our home
rifle.
front have given us an overwhelming
I'm not
superiority
doing
in
anybody
weapons
any
and
good.
munitions of war, and
Get
placed
my
at our
ass on the
disposal
beach.
great reserves of
We're off the
trained
beach
fighting
even,
men.
right? Into the bushes.
The tide has
Behind the
turned.
beach.
Oh yeah,
The free men of the
Right,
world are
but I'm
marching
waiting till I
together
get
to
to the
victory.
freaking land.
I have
Grab
full
a
confidence
rifle
in your
off
courage,
some,
devotion to duty,
man.
and skill in battle.
You know,
We will
because
accept
they-
nothing less
they-
than full
You know,
victory.
at least I got something to defend myself.
luck.
But get to the beach,
And let
you're
us
just
all be
slowing
seekers
down.
of
You're gonna
It's just
slow
really
down.
cool that we have
on
footage
this
of this
great
stuff as
and
well.
noble undertaking.
Most of the dead people drown. They don't tell you that part.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Pas de Calais, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.